Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, and now we'll share the screen. Here we go. And we are October 19th in Asia. First topic, the facets of character building from Vedanta Kesari, Swami Atma Shraddhananda. So for those who don't know, the Vedanta Kesari is the English publication of Ramakrishna Mission Chennai. It's lots of readers and produces some great articles. Sometimes they reprint some of ours, even solicit them sometimes. Oh, build your character. There's Swamiji. A good number of people in today's world do not think this is good advice. Build your character. To substantiate their stand, they cite the examples of a large number of people morally bankrupt and without much of a genuine character who were doing well in life. Such characterless people become their role models, and they think their own lives should be fashioned on these lines. Why should I be playing a different tune when everyone else is dancing to the tune of a dishonest and hypocritical life? They continue to indulge in this line of thinking until they face the consequences of characterlessness or moral bankruptcy themselves. Mostly this happens. So, what are the consequences they would face is the first question to you. These are, of course, consequences Swamiji chose. Not something I chose. First, when their morally wrong thoughts and actions return to them in some way, for example, when the bridge they were crossing gave way, thanks to the dishonest engineers, or the food they ate caused a disease, again due to the unfairness of the trader or the person involved in its production or preparation, or when the doctor prescribes one to undergo avoidable tests from a diagnostic laboratory to which he is associated to make some money, and the innumerable other causes of irresponsibility, dishonesty, and injustice in public and private sphere, the examples can be multiplied several-fold. Second, when they have to face his character issues with regard to their family or immediate area of work and life, such as when a son betrays his father, mother, or vice versa. An employer tricks the employee or vice versa. A friend injures a friend, and so on. All instances where the well-known idiom, fence eating up the field, is in operation, are included in it. Shaken by these harsh facts, they become humble and begin to look for an answer. They soon learn if they are sincere that one cannot blame others for one's weakness. One must accept oneself and try to do better. Character building, hence, is a deeply personal and intimate issue. One cannot sit in a corner with his hands clasped and say, "How does my character matter?" Nor can one escape the consequences of lack of character building for long. Character matters in more than one way, and character building is the perpetual challenge confronting everyone, individually and collectively. And next question to you, what is the relationship between character building and spiritual life? The importance of character building occupies a vital and central place in spiritual life. Spiritual life, sans, meaning without, character building is like constructing a house without any mortar or cementing agent. So it's not going to last long, right? Though all mystic traditions speak of moksha or spiritual liberation, a state beyond even the issue of character building, no one denies that it is character building which alone can be the guiding principle in all spiritual matters. Through the rigors of character building, the light of spirituality shines forth. The word character, however, has several connotations. One meaning is the behavior of a person. When a person misbehaves or violates some accepted forms of social and moral practices, he is often said to be a man of loose or weak character. Another meaning of character in literary circles is simply the way a person's personality or life is portrayed in a book or story or article. This means a mixture of his good and bad traits. It is an evaluation of an individual's moral qualities through the role he or she plays in a story or situation. The word character hence could mean both good and bad qualities. One could be a man or woman of good or bad character, or, as in the case generally, one can be a person with a mixed character. Though this is true, the most striking connotation of character, however, lies in an interesting fact. It is almost always used to mean good. The expression that so-and-so is a man or woman of character invariably means good character. So deep is this identification of the term character with good that if one has to use it to mean differently, one has to use a particular adjective to specify it. Bad, evil, mean, etc. Swami Vivekananda, however, goes a step ahead and gives a most complete definition of the term. He also goes into the dynamics of character building process and says, every work that we do, every movement of the body, every thought that we think, leaves such an impression on the mind stuff, and even when such impressions are not obvious on the surface, they are sufficiently strong to work beneath the surface subconsciously. What we are every moment is determined by the sum total of these impressions on the mind. What I am just at this moment is the effect of the sum total of all the impressions of my past life. This is really what is meant by character. Which means character is determined by the sum total of these impressions. If good impressions prevail, the character becomes good. If bad, it becomes bad. If a man continuously hears bad words, thinks bad thoughts, does bad actions, his mind will be full of bad impressions. And they will influence his thought and work without his being conscious of the fact. In fact, these bad impressions are always working, and the resultant must be evil. And that man will be a bad man. He cannot help it. The sum total of these impressions in him will create the strong motive power for doing bad actions. He will be like a machine in the hands of his impressions. They will force him to do evil. Similarly, if a man thinks good thoughts and does good works, the sum total of these impressions will be good, and they, in a similar manner, will force him to do good, even in spite of himself. Repetition or repeated thinking of a thought or happening of an action creates what we call character. Repeat that one, that's important. Repetition or repeated thinking of a thought or happening of an action creates what we call character. It is an outcome of experience of thoughts and actions and reactions, responses of life itself. Swamiji's insightful words. Karma in its effect on character is the most tremendous power that man has to deal with. Man, as it were, is a center and is attracting all the powers of the universe towards himself. Good and bad, misery and happiness, all are running towards him and clinging round him, and out of them he fashions a mighty stream of tendencies called character and throws it outwards. This means that character building is the result of whatever we do and do not do, for not doing is also a kind of action. But is character inherited or is it subject to change? Can one change one's character? This is an important issue that bothers most human minds, and hence understanding it is essential to the whole process of character building. So that's the question to you. Can one change one's character? It's that statement, I can't help it, that's the way I am. What can I do about it? That's just the way I am. That's the idea of not being able to change one's character. According to Swamiji, the birth of a person does have a role to play. He said once, one child is born of a divine nature, another of a human, others of lower character. While percentage and formative periods of one's life cast an influence on one's character, every human being has an opportunity to change himself. So that's the point, is whatever character we have, we can improve it. He can make a choice and can change himself. If it were not so, all spiritual counsels would be meaningless. All scriptures would turn ineffective and man will remain condemned forever. If past actions have played a role in making our present character, it naturally follows that our future character will be determined by what we do now. Nicely said. Our future character will be determined by what we do now. Swamiji explains. Look back on yourselves from the state of the amoeba to the human being. Who made all that? Your own will. Can you deny then that it is almighty? That which has made you come up so high can make you go higher still. What you want is character, strengthening of the will. So now we're getting into the secret, character building. Herein, therefore, lies the secret of character building, strengthening of the will. The will is strengthened through repeated practices. It is akin to muscle building exercises. A man with strong muscles is a man who has exercised his muscles repeatedly. Repetition brings out the potential muscles. It is a process of inside out, of manifesting the perfection that is already within. So that's exactly, of course, what I say in my talks. There's a jar which has seeds in it, which is rice. So it says some things, if you use them, they go away. So you take the seeds out, you cook the rice, you end up with a jar that's empty. But exercising muscles is different. The more you use it, the more you have. So willpower is like a muscle. It's not like rice seeds in a jar. Moreover, there is no other way out to lasting peace and meaning in life except by building character. There are no substitutes. Strengthening the will means training or controlling the senses and the mind and not be controlled by them. Kathopanishad speaks of the human personality as a chariot thus. Know the Atman to be master of the chariot, the body the chariot, the buddhi, discriminating faculty, the charioteer, and the mind, the reins. The senses, they say, are the horses, the object, the roads. A man who has discrimination for his charioteer and holds the reins of the mind firmly reaches the end of the road. That is the supreme position of the all-pervading consciousness, which in this case is called Vishnu. The secret of character building lies in training the mind. Let us recall the well-known passage about character building. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap your character. Sow character and reap your destiny. That's nice. The whole process, as is evident from this, begins with when we sow a thought. The problem, and the solution to it lies with our thoughts, or to be more precise, with our willpower. It is the will which needs to be trained. To this one should become the master of the chariot instead of becoming a slave to the horses, senses, and the reins, mind or thoughts. This is an inner training wherein the charioteer, buddhi, has to be strengthened and re-educated. It has to learn to control the senses and the mind and not be controlled by them. Says Swamiji, he who has succeeded in attaching or detaching his mind to or from the centers at will has succeeded in pratyahara, which means gathering towards, checking the outgoing powers of the mind, freeing it from thraldom of the senses. When we can do this, we shall really possess character. Let us look at character building from the viewpoint of spiritual life, where meditation plays a central role. Meditation depends upon concentration, and concentration depends upon withdrawal of the mind, which again depends upon self-control. And the question to you, how do you define self-control? Self-control, which signifies mastery over the mind and the senses, is therefore the secret of all success in meditation and also of mastering the character-building process. Self-control is the way of life. It is based on exercising and strengthening one's will on the right lines. One has to learn to control one's cravings and channel them in healthier means of expression. Chastity, truthfulness, and genuine sympathy are the three indispensable components of a true character. The approach to character building should always be positive. This one's good. One should emphasize on nurturing positive virtues rather than getting rid of vices. It is a widespread trend these days to emphasize the importance of overcoming addiction to alcohol, drugs, or other compulsive habits. In doing so, they emphasize on their harmful effects, but fail to emphasize on what one should do in place of such habits. The result is that people keep attending camp seminars, continue with their wrong habits also. Nor should one mistake character with talents. By talent is meant some special trait or capacity to do something, such as having an aptitude for singing or for writing or public speaking. One should not forget that while we admire talent, it is character what we really respect. Talent may bring us some fame and reputation, but it is character which is the real man. Swami Vivekananda rightly pointed out, before we get to hear what he says, how can you judge the character of a man? Again, this is an interesting statement. If you really want to judge of the character of a man, look not at his great performances. Every fool may become a hero at one time or another. Watch a man do his most common actions. Those are indeed the things which will tell you the real character of a great man. Great occasions rouse even the lowest of human beings to some kind of greatness. But he alone is the really great man whose character is great always, the same wherever he be. One of the greatest helps in character building consists in living with men of character. One is fortunate enough to find the company of a man of character. One finds subtle changes taking place in one's own character. For company has a profound impact on the type of character one develops. More than what we are asked to do, it is the example of people with whom we live or admire that affects us most. Sometimes we are not that fortunate. In that case, reading and deep thinking over the lives and teachings of such men of character is of much help. One should surround one's mental atmosphere with holy and inspiring thoughts. Since we become what we admire, we should choose our objects of admiration and adoration with care. To conclude, character building is the way to spiritual growth and is also the fruit of all spiritual realization. It is foundation of true education also. To restrict education to acquisition of knowledge or mere degrees, as is the case many times, is to not get educated at all. One may lack academic knowledge, but if one has trained one's will, purified and controlled one's mind, he is then truly educated. He alone is able to live a true life and contribute to it meaningfully. Training of will should be the ultimate goal of all education. Be it in secular matters or in spiritual matters, building a noble and pure character is the only lasting solution to life's problems. Character, however, is not built only in the silence of meditation, though meditation is of great help in that, but in the broad daylight of right action. So that's a very good point. It's interacting with people that helps us build our character. And our second topic is our Path to Shiva series. So it is covering the basics, but you might find one or two items you kind of forgotten about. And it starts with a question, what is Hinduism? So what's a simple answer to that? Non-technical answer. How would you answer that question? Hinduism is the ancient religion of India, practiced today by 1 billion people all over the world. Another way of saying that is it's the original religion of India. Originally, the only religion in India was Hinduism, and then later on, other religions came up. With no founder, and stretching back unknown thousands of years in India's earliest known civilizations. So no founder is important. Hinduism is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal faith. It's based on the Vedas and other scriptures. 4 beliefs are most central. So what do you think Path to Shiva chose as the 4 beliefs? First is belief in one supreme God who created the universe and who abides everywhere within it. He, she is all and in all. So that's very important. One supreme God. Because detractors of Hinduism, one of the approaches they take is that Hinduism believes in a trinity of gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra, none of which is supreme. Hinduism doesn't have a supreme God. So that is not a correct understanding. All Hindus believe that Hinduism has a supreme God, as I like to say, somewhat humorously. Hindus all believe in one supreme being, they just don't agree on the name or nature of that supreme being. But they all agree there's only one supreme being. Second is belief in the law of karma, principle of cause and effect, action and reaction. That's very important. And that is something that's in modern thinking. You see it in movies and television programs. And generally it's used pretty correctly. Karma is understood by the movie-making world. Third is belief that the cosmos is governed by the principle of dharma, which is divine order, righteousness, and duty. Fourth, Hindus believe in reincarnation, the natural process of birth, death, and rebirth. So again, lots of religions don't believe in reincarnation, just the Eastern ones do. While these four convictions are essential, in Hinduism belief alone is not enough to propel us forward on the path. Our actions and behavior are the keys to spiritual progress. Hindus seek to experience God and their inner self through temple worship, meditation, yoga, pilgrimage, and devotional singing. They enjoy a rich family life and ageless traditions of culture. They honor gurus, saints, and sages. They worship many gods who were grand helpers to the Supreme Being. And then we have the same concept we have in Gurudeva's Dancing with Shiva. What are the three pillars of Hinduism? Hinduism is supported by three main structures. What are they? The three pillars of Sanatana Dharma are its scriptures, temples, and gurus. Today, Hinduism is like a great banyan tree whose limbs represent the many variations of this ancient faith. Four main branches or denominations, as we know, are Saivism, Vaishnavism, Shaktism, and Smartism. Each has a multitude of guru lineages, religious leaders, priesthoods, sacred literature, monastic communities, schools, pilgrimage centers, and tens of thousands of temples. Since Hinduism has no one central authority, these are like four independent religions sharing a vast common heritage of history, culture, and belief. Get our third topic, answering questions sent into hindu.org. Oh, we have a new question here. By God's grace, I am grateful to have all the things to make for a happy life, but I often experience discontentment, often over petty matters. I request you to kindly make me aware of how could I practice santosha, contentment, in my day-to-day life. So that's a big subject in terms of how it could be answered. I just chose two quotes from Gurudeva, which approach it in different ways. Contentment is working within your means with what is available to you, living within your income, being grateful for what you have, not unhappy over what you lack. So, said another way, the glass, appropriately, the glass the glass is half full and not half empty. So we're looking at what we have in a positive way. Of course, we would like to have more, but we are content with what we have. Saivite Hindu perspective is that contentment is a reflection of centeredness, and discontentment is a reflection of externalized consciousness and ramified desire. Oh, in other words, we need to perform a daily vigil during which we center ourselves. That's the key in this approach to contentment. Every day we center ourselves during our vigil period, and then small things in life don't throw us off center as much because we took the time to center ourselves every day. Thank you very much. Om. Om.